I'm happy to welcome Casie Fariello, co-founder of Other Parents Like Me, a subscription-based online platform designed to support parents of young people with mental health and substance use challenges. Casie is also a parent coach at the Partnership to End Addiction. So I want to welcome you, Casie. I'm really glad to have you here.
Thank you very much, Cathy. I'm a big fan of you, and I was really excited when one of my people, when I was facilitating at the partnership, said, "Oh, yes, Cathy, we've been doing this forever because you guys started together, you and Mike." So
Yeah.
I was really pleased when he helped me meet you, and it's nice to be here with you today.
Great. Oh, good. So could you tell us a little bit about yourself and like what motivated you? You're working with families. How did you get into this? What's a little background on you?
Sure. So I have three children, two boys and a girl. My oldest has struggled with anxiety her whole life. And We didn't know, honestly, how much that affected the family system until later on. My middle child, who is my oldest son, he started using substances. And I was the blind parent who, even though people said to me, "Do you know John's using weed?" I was like, "No." And he would, do the whole claim of only once, oh, just that time kind of thing. And we went into this huge spiral in our house of testing and, oh my gosh, him running away and overdoses and trying IOP, trying a partial hospitalization. He wasn't even going to school. Like, it was just crazy. Punching holes in the walls, breaking, a glass mirror with his hand, like just awful stuff. And I I didn't know what to do. I was lost. And then my youngest, everybody, by the way, what kind of was happening at the same time. My oldest, with her anxiety, was at college at this time, and just every time she heard something new about John, was fainting at school. So I had that extra part because she just was not home, and that was just really hard for her. And then our youngest was going through his own journey in figuring out who he was. He's part of the LGBTQ community, and during all this, he was secretly cutting. So we had everything. Like, I mean, if there was anything, we had everything happening. And our oldest son went to a therapeutic boarding school, and that's where we started to learn to really take care of ourselves. And that we were a part of the solution, and it was a family thing to work together with, and that just because he was the most extreme because of, life and death, right? With overdosing, hospitalization, suicidal, um, doesn't mean that everybody didn't have a part. And I started running support groups during the pandemic. For my son's program, and saw, oh my gosh, so that was back in 2020, saw the change. Because I had already been on that journey now for a couple years. So going back, I'm sure you felt this, going back and being with someone in the beginning was just like, oh, I am further along than I thought. And I learned by doing that, and then starting at the partnership as well, how much I gained from being a parent coach for them, running the online support community once a week, and doing my own support groups. And I started to feel even more transformed and way, way less alone. And it was pretty cool to see.
That's great. What a journey. And I know it's like one thing to have one child going down this route, but when you have two, I have three kids too, and I had two that I was concerned about. So, and then the third one, I don't know if you had this too, is like, okay, why is this happening in my family, type thing. So yeah. So, well, good for you. I know. I think it's great that you've taken gone on for you, so, could be a negative experience. It sounds like things have turned around a little bit. And so you just are now helping other parents. So, and I agree with you. I'd go to meetings too, and then you'd hear stories and you think, I'd always come away grateful. I'd always come away grateful thinking, okay, my situation's not easy, but it's not, somebody else is going through something a lot worse. So what approaches can help parents concerned about their teens or young adults? What have you found that you think is helpful?
So there's a couple things. First was learning to actually care for myself. We hear it right a million times. Self-care, 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 self-care. And I sort of believed it, but didn't really understand. And now self-care is just part of my everyday. And even though it's still not perfect, our son is home. He still uses. We do have boundaries around it. The son who went off, and it's not crisis anymore because I have self-care. And then the other part is my life changed for me when I went to the partnership, which I have a feeling you felt the same way, and I started to learn craft and the 20-minute guide. Like, I can't even talk enough about the 20-minute guide. That changed my perspective. That changed how I interacted with my son using substances. It actually changed how I interact with my child with anxiety. Like, I actually hold boundaries with her and have self-care around it. Like, there's something really weird around when you have a child with that kind of mental health. Like, you feel like you still have to be in it with them. And the 20-minute guide craft taught me I didn't have to. So I know that it's substance use based, but I have found, as I'm with my other child cutting, it's his journey, it's his thing, and he's been in recovery for cutting for 1.5 years. So we're doing something. We started changing when I started in 2021 early, and I can't say enough about going on and finding the 20-minute guide and just kind of practicing. That's the other key. Practicing, and then self-care so that you're not making yourself crazy in the practice. So those are kind of my two things that I found changed my life.
That's great. And I know, the self-care. And I feel like I say that and you probably do too. Don't you just feel like you say that over and over and over again? People like, I'm a broken record here, but I'm the same way. Yeah. I started doing yoga. I started trying to do different things, really being conscious about for me, exercise has helped. So I was just really being conscious about trying to do that. And I agree. If you're completely stressed out, you can't help your kid that much, if you're just off the deep end. So that's good. And again, the partnership's amazing. 20-minute guide. It is unbelievable that, these things just kind of fell into our paths, and it's been wonderful. I mean, it's just, they're doing such great work. Both of those organizations are really great. So on the flip side, what do you think the challenges are for parents who are worried about their kids? What do you think, what do you see coming up a lot when you're working with families?
Oh my gosh. I know that it's been talked about a lot, shame and stigma. I know it's talked about a lot and people hear it a lot, and people still, it's really hard. It's really hard to go into a support group. At Other Parents Like Me, that's one of the things that I found. We have, 350 members, and maybe 20 of them go to support groups. And you start to wonder, like, why? They'll watch the videos, they'll, I'm sure you have the same thing, they come and watch your videos, people will do, read resources, they'll read books, but being present and saying it out loud, that my life is not perfect, And sometimes, honestly, my life sucks inside my four walls. And I am in crisis and I'm embarrassed. What did I do as a parent that caused this? No matter how many times we tell them that they didn't, they just need to learn new tools. It's so hard. It's really, it's still hard for me. And I've been doing this now since 2017. And I'm still practicing. I still make mistakes. And I still, sometimes, even though I'm very public in this kind of a forum, I still have a hard time going into ShopRite and having someone who will come up to me because, I do share. So how is things really? And in that moment, you're just like, oh, so hard. Yeah.
No, I hear you. And yeah, it's interesting that you're saying, that people like to, they'll read things online, they'll read books, they'll go to websites, but it's hard to come to a support group, and I think sometimes it's time issues too, whenever I do support groups, I'm thinking, okay, this probably isn't the best time or whatever, but I agree, most of it is the shame and stigma, and God forbid you run into somebody, I mean, I think it's a little different with the Zoom because people are coming in from all over the place, but I know for those local groups, I remember I had a mom years ago who had two sons and they were just really having a hard time. And it had been for quite a while, and she just would not go to a support group. And it was, she lived in a smaller town and she didn't want to run into anybody. And she, I mean, all of that stuff. So yeah, it's still, I mean, I think we're working on the shame and stigma, but it's definitely still there. So, So anyway, so you have started an amazing program, The Other Parents Like Me. And so I loved it. I peeked in. Who is the group for, and what do you hope parents gain from it? It's amazing, this work that you're doing, really. I love it.
Oh, thank you. So my partner and I, we're almost 2 years into it. We actually officially launched January 10th. And it was inspired by my work that I had been doing. And so it's resources. We have a toolkit that has tons and tons of those things, like books and podcasts. Cathy's on there, things that you can go find, because one of the other things I always felt was that I didn't know where to look. So that's one of our goals. And another one is there's a glossary of terms, because it's Greek. It's totally Greek. And then there's like support. It's like, support people that we've vetted, that we've talked to, you're on there, because you want to feel comfortable too when you finally reach out to someone for a parent coach or something like that, someone personal. You want to know that like someone else has already talked to them and that they liked them. Yeah, I don't know why, but and we started speaker talks, and Cathy, you've been in our speaker talks as one of our speakers, because I wanted the ability as a parent, when someone came to talk or something that I was watching or listening on a podcast, it was important for me for parents to have that chance to ask questions. And they do. When they come on Thursdays, they do. And that's amazing. And then it's recorded and people can go watch it later in the platform, and which is really amazing, because most likely someone has asked the question that you would have wanted to ask. And then we have 15 support groups a week. We have two men's support groups, and our men's one on Tuesday night, we can have 20 guys in there, if you could believe it, which is amazing. And we have a trauma support group, which is talking about our trauma, and gratitude support group, and then like just regular. And then there's women's and people in program, people with kids in program, stuff like that. Like, we try to really touch a lot, and we're just going to continue to expand, because I want someone to always feel that they can go into a support group and feel seen and feel connected with the group, that's there. Um, and it's still a work in progress. We continually are improving and coming up with new things, and now we're offering it for free for anybody and everybody to come in for 3 months and get everything, and then they can stay basic and just go into the resources if that's more comfortable, go to the live speaker talks if that's more comfortable, or they can keep, hopefully by then, feel more comfortable to stay in the support groups and keep going. And it's a passion. Literally a passion for me to like touch every single parent, caregiver, foster parent, whatever you are, to find a place where you feel like you land. And that's the part about the speakers, is that if I don't speak to them, I'm hoping Cathy Tallenbaugh speaks to them, or, Brad Reedy, or we've got Patrick Doyle, because I know you have Patrick on there, and we have him as 2 speakers for us times. And just find that person that's like, oh, you know what? That person is the one that I feel I can delve deeper. So I can go into the support groups and feel anonymous and be comfortable, hopefully. And now, okay, I'm ready. I want to go to someone who I can do some one-on-one stuff. It's a passion for me to have people feel connected. That's why I started it.
Oh, it's great. And you have so many resources on there. It was amazing. I was just like, oh my God, pages and pages and pages. I was like, wow, you guys have done your homework. Great. And what a good resource. And, there just can't be enough, there's so many parents dealing with this. So I think it's great that you're there, and that, we're all kind of on the same path together. And so good. And I think too, you've got a variety, it sounds like. So you've got the speakers, you've got the groups, you've got the research, so people can figure out what it is that they will help them the most. So wonderful. So that's amazing. And so when you think of parents, going through this, I know I keep trying to come up with, I don't know if you get this too, like, what's the silver bullet? What's the magic words? But, and like, sorry, there is not really anything. I mean, it is, but not, not one perfect recipe. But what do you think when you think about a word or a thought or hope of encouragement for parents? What comes to your mind that you can offer to parents to help them feel, or any family member? It doesn't have to be a parent, any family member.
That this is uncomfortable, and it's okay to have gratitude sometimes. I know that sounds really, really weird, and I think you probably have that, but yourself, isn't it amazing? I didn't choose any of these paths for any of my kids or me, but I've grown so much, and I have gratitude, and my kids are amazing human beings under the age of 25. Like, they are so present and so available to, and it's just like, even listening to them to talk to other kids, it's sorry, I didn't mean to cry, but isn't that crazy that there's actually gratitude in growing?
Sure. Yeah. No, it's one, absolutely. No, tears are part of this journey for sure. And I know I tear up sometimes, just even going back and looking at my daughter's story from the beginning. It just brings tears to my eyes still, to this day. So yeah, no, it's a frightening place to be with our kids, and you just want them to be happy, and you want them to thrive, and you want them to be okay. And so yeah, I totally get it. So Casie, where can people find out more about you? Where can we direct people that you could learn more about other parents like me, or other things that you're doing?
Yeah, our website's super easy. It is literally oplm.com. That's it. Otherparentslikeme.com. So oplm.com, and we're on Facebook and Instagram, and LinkedIn, and I'm really am blessed by our social media group because they're always trying to even there put out tools for people, little knowledges, little questions. So we're literally constantly trying to find something that may connect to someone, and you just search other parents like me on all those pages and you'll be able to find us. We are working on our YouTube channel, but that's new, it's and you can always, I'm an open book. I think you know that, Cathy. So you can also always email me directly, and it's Casie, Casie. Yes, I spell it funny. You can blame my mom. Just one S, Casie at oplm.com. So if anybody ever wants, and we don't want any finances to ever be a barrier. So after the 3 months, if you want to stay premium at the $49 a month and you can't afford it, just let me know and we put you on financial aid, because we don't want anybody to not find a place that's for them. We don't want that to be, because can be an expensive journey for some of us.
For sure. Yeah, it kind of hits you from all directions, right? I mean,
Yeah, it does.
it's just like,
yeah, well, it affects like how much you're working, like, you're like,
yeah,
it affects
right,
even you, how much finances you do have because of your job, and you're
right.
having to take days off, and yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, you're just doing amazing work, and you should be, I have a lot of gratitude for what you're doing. I think it's wonderful. And I think there's parents out there who are going to gravitate to these different websites and find help for themselves and know, the main thing that they're not alone in this, and that they're not, because I think parents so often, blame themselves and feel so much shame and what did I do wrong type thing. So I know that helped me the minute I went to a meeting and realized, okay, there's other people here. I, probably made some mistakes, but I mean, we're all in this together, and, you just feel better. So thank you for all you're doing. And for taking the time to come and
Oh,
share
thank you
your,
for asking me. I
absolutely.
appreciate
So,
it.
yeah. Okay. And we will be in touch.
Absolutely.